So the Frank Ntilikina Hive saw the highlights of Frank practicing with Team France right before the Olympics. And of course, they were like, look how nice he is. Oh, baby.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Holy shit. The Frank Ntilikina fan base is very toxic, man. Come on. Fuck, bro. First of all, before I get into it, you guys should definitely check out how I broke down how European basketball, when guys come up, how that whole system works. And it kind of gives you an insight on how Frank Ntilikina came up from his childhood all the way to him making the NBA, and what kind of system these guys go through in Europe, how it's very different from the US system. So I'll link that video in the description below. Okay. You guys got to understand, Frank Ntilikina should be thriving while playing for the French national team. First of all, a lot of the national teams that play in the Olympics don't keep switching in and out of players like Team USA does. A lot of their guys have multiple Olympics under their belts, and their teams pretty much stay consistent. You can even look at Luis Scola. This is about to be his 4th Olympics playing for his national team. So Frank Ntilikina, even at his young age, has a lot of history of playing with the guys that are on the team. So the chemistry is already on point. And that history extends all the way back to their days in youth academy. And second of all, there's a lot of players, past and present, who always thrive under Olympic basketball because it goes according to rules they're already accustomed to, aka Manu Ginobili. He was looking like an all-star in the 2004 Olympics as he led Argentina into the gold medal. You could also look at Carlos Arroyo in the same Olympics, and he was looking like Allen Iverson out there. Matter of fact, he was actually killing Allen Iverson and Stephon Marbury while doing his best impersonation of them. And of course, more recently, Patty Mills for Team Australia. He's a role player in San Antonio, but in international play, this guy is looking like an all-star. But once again, these guys should be somewhat thriving in international play because not only they built up chemistry with the same guys from youth league all the way on to them becoming professionals, but also because the rules of international play is something that they're accustomed to. For example, instead of the games being 48 minutes under NBA rules, they're 40 minutes. Also, you're allowed to goaltend to a certain extent during international play. There's no defensive 3 seconds. And most importantly, this throws off a lot of American players. You have to dribble before you make a move. I had a friend of mine that went overseas to play basketball, and he struggled a lot with that. He told me that was the hardest thing for him to get accustomed to, other than the European players flopping a lot like soccer players. But even with the slight rule changes, you would understand why some of the international guys like Manu Ginobili, Patty Mills, Carlos Arroyo, Frank Ntilikina, why some of these guys tend to outshine normally what they do in the NBA when it comes time to be on that international stage. Because having a big ass center just sit in the paint and having no defensive 3 second, while at the same time allowing that same center to goaltend, would change the dynamics of the game a lot. And you're not even going to the perimeter yet, which you're telling guys before they even make a move, the ball would have to hit the floor. They would have to dribble off rip. American players are not accustomed to that. We've seen guys fake one direction, then go the other, then dribble. So to the Frank Ntilikina Hive, best believe Olympic Frank will most likely be that only in Olympic play. It's not going to really translate to the NBA, and it's not going to be that much of an anomaly that a foreign-born player that's pretty much a role player in the NBA is going to be killing in the Olympics. That will pretty much begin to become the norm. As Adam Silver, or should I say even going back as far as David Stern, in his last at least 10 to 15 years of being commissioner, the NBA low-key has been investing a lot of money into developing players on an international level, helping them cultivate the talents that they already have. Because best believe all around the world, they do have the athleticism and the talent to have players that can make the NBA level, but they just don't have the infrastructure. And the NBA low-key has been developing that among other nations. And now it's starting to pay dividends to the point where the average US fan starts to notice that a lot of the nicer players in the league right now tend to be foreign born. You could look at even this year's MVP race. Number 1 was Jokic and number 2 was Embiid. So best believe none of this is a coincidence. And I will be touching base on this on my other channel, Orange Cookies. But just in short summary, the NBA is heavily invested on making sure the game becomes global. That's why you've seen a few years ago, the Sacramento Kings had a game in India. The basketball league in Africa, led by Masai Ujiri, is kind of pushed to the forefront. Shit, even Mike Brown has a basketball camp in Nigeria. And apparently right now, Nigeria is a hub for a lot of basketball talent, especially guys headed towards the NBA, as we've seen from the 2020 draft. And some of you guys may not know, more prominent figures in the NBA, not necessarily the players or coaches, but major beat writers and NBA analysts such as Doris Burke get the responsibility of recruiting certain players into the NBA. For example, Doris Burke, a lot of people don't know, was responsible for Pascal Siakam. She went all the way out to his village to convince his pastor to let him play basketball. And unfortunate for his priest was killed the week she was supposed to go out there. They had her going out deep into a lot of villages to recruit Pascal Siakam. So this is how deep these things run. And once again, a lot of these things are not by coincidence. When you see Adam Silver make references into a cross-border cup or a Champions League, sort of like the UEFA Soccer League, Champions League in Europe, none of these things are by coincidence. This is where the NBA is going. They want to develop leagues outside of the US, making sure that they're good and they can have some sort of international play that can promote the game on a more global stage. Remember, this is a more globalized world now. The more global the NBA could be, the more money that they can make. And at the end of the day, this is what it's all about. Since the NBA can't replicate the NFL in growth domestically in the US, they can at least beat them on the global stage and get to that bag first. That seems to be the play here. But I'll be covering this topic more in depth on my other channel, Orange Cookies, so you guys definitely be on the lookout for that. And for the Frank Ntilikina hive, I gotta stop chilling out with the Nicki Minaj hive, because you both toxic as fuck.